Juan Gotti, talking sports.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here with yet another Washington football team video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here to talk about should the Washington football team trade for wide receiver N'Keal Harry. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload a video about the NFL, in this case, our Washington football team. Let's get straight into today's video. So I know you guys are probably like, Juan, man, we're almost at training camp. We're worried about going into the season. We're not worried about trading for no players, no more adding to this team. I understand where you guys are coming from, but it was an article written by the Washington Wire titled, "Should the Washington football team, or would the Washington football team still be interested in former first-round wide receiver N'Keal Harry?" And I just wanted to come on here and give my 2 cents about it as we read this article. As you guys remember, a couple months ago when it first came out that they could possibly be moving on from N'Keal Harry, that being the New England Patriots, I made a video and said, should the Washington football team trade for him then? And in that video, I said N'Keal Harry is very young, and he really hasn't shown no promise since entering the league in 2019. But I also said in that video, I don't think we need to add any more receivers to our roster, because back then, that's when we first got Curtis Samuel. That's when we got Adam Humphries. We didn't have De'Ami Brown yet because the draft didn't happen. But I just felt like we were comfortable with our wide receiver room, and I said I wouldn't be mad if they did trade for him, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it because I feel like our picks are valuable, and I want to keep our late round picks because, as you guys know, we draft phenomenal in the late rounds. So I was like, nah, I wouldn't personally trade for him, but if they did trade for him, I wasn't gonna be mad. So that's why I was wanting to be. That's why I wanted to come on here and talk about this new article, because it came out and said that he requested a trade from the New England Patriots, and the Washington Wire wrote an article. So let's waste no more time and read this article written by the Washington Wire, according to Yahoo Sports. So the Washington football team enters the 2021 offseason desperate for help at the wide receiver position. As we know, we had nothing at wide receiver besides Terry McLaurin, so we entered the offseason desperate to upgrade that wide receiver position. Then the Washington football team added Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries via free agency, and De'Ami Brown through the 2021 NFL Draft. In addition to the newcomers, Washington has had a #1 wide receiver in Terry McLaurin, Kevin Harmon, Cam Sims, Antonio Gandy-Golden, Steve Sims, Dax Milne, and others are on the roster for training camp. They continue to say, McLaurin, Samuel, and Brown are roster locks. Humphries is almost certain of a spot, but not guaranteed. Cam Sims will seemingly have the number 5 spot locked up, meaning there would be quite the battle for a potential 6 wide receiver spot on the Washington 53-man roster, as we talked about countless times. Like I said, I personally think they're going to keep 6, as do many of you. It says, to continue on reading, with all those bodies at wide receiver, the Washington football team would certainly have no interest in another wide receiver. Would they? Question mark. On one of his podcasts before the NFL Draft, John Keim of ESPN reported that the Washington football team was potentially interested in former 2019 first-round pick N'Keal Harry of the New England Patriots. On Tuesday, Harry's agent formally requested a trade from the Patriots per Michael Garoppolo of NFL Network. Now, that doesn't mean New England intends to trade Harry. The Patriots spent this offseason upgrading their entire group of pass catchers, but there were no indication of whether or not Harry was still in their plans. As you guys know, New England went crazy with upgrading their pass catcher position. They got Jonnu Smith, they got Hunter Henry, they got Nelson Aguilar, and they got Kenyon Bourne from the 49ers. So they did a lot with upgrading their pass catchers. So I can understand where N'Keal Harry is coming from if that's the reason why he's requesting a trade. He's like, man, I don't know if you guys want me anymore. You guys did all this, upgrading your wide receiver position, as they should, rightfully so, because they had nothing last year, especially with N'Keal Harry not performing coming into his second year. So, as New England should, but on the other side, I do see why N'Keal Harry possibly would want to trade, because he feels like you're not in their plans anymore. And like I said, no fault of New England, they had to move on if that's the case, right? So to continue reading, he says, would Washington call New England about a player they liked just a few months ago? And he says, I doubt it. Regardless of compensation, the football team appears to be set at wide receivers for the 2021 season. For the first time in a while, Washington will cut good players at the wide receiver position. Adding another big receiver like Sims, Harmon, and Gandy-Golden doesn't make much sense for the team. Never say never, but I would believe the ship has sailed for Washington in regards to Harry. So, once again, that article was written by the Washington Wire, according to Yahoo Sports. So like I said, talking a little bit about it, you can't really blame New England for upgrading their pass catchers because they didn't have anything last year. You know what I'm saying? N'Keal Harry, he's been seeming like a bust. I know a lot of people was getting on me for calling him a bust in my first video, but first year, he only had 107 yards. Last year, he really didn't perform all that well. And I've seen a lot of people try to make excuses for him or try to say that he hasn't had no quarterbacks, which is true. And I can't really say it's an excuse because Terry hasn't had a quarterback. But on the other hand, Terry has still, you know, got 1,000-yard seasons, close to 1,000-yard seasons in his first year, and he still produced. So, I mean, I guess you can say that's an excuse for him. But on the other time, you got to be like, you still have to perform. So, like I said, I understand where you're coming from if you're defending him saying that he doesn't have no quarterback. But at the same time, you still got to perform and be that guy for whoever's at that quarterback. I don't care if it was Cam Newton. I don't care if it was Jarrett Stidham. I don't care who it was out there for New England last year. You had to perform, and he did it. So like I said earlier, a couple months ago in my video, when I first made a video on this topic, I said I wouldn't be mad if they traded for N'Keal Harry, but I personally wouldn't do it. And this was in March. This is right after free agency. This is after we got Curtis Samuel. This is after we got Adam Humphries. This is before we drafted De'Ami Brown. And I still said I was fine with our wide receiver room because I was thinking we're going to have Terry, we're going to have Curtis, we're going to have Adam Humphries at least as the front line. We were going to have Kelvin Harmon coming back. We're going to have AGG hopefully returning for his second year. But then we drafted De'Ami Brown. So now I'm even more comfortable with not getting N'Keal Harry. But as I still stand to this day, if we were to somewhat trade for him right before training camp, or even if we get him right before the season starts, after they make their 53-man roster cuts and N'Keal Harry somehow gets cut from New England, if we were like, hey, why don't we take a chance on this N'Keal Harry guy? He's only in his third year, and he really hasn't worked out, but maybe he has to get with our wide receiver coach, Drew Terrell, and maybe he can help him, you know, perform, help him get better. He's helped guys like Terry. He's helping guys like De'Ami, and he's helped guys like Kelvin. You know what I'm saying? So maybe he has to get with a new wide receiver coach, new offensive coordinator, or just a new scenery in general, and maybe that could bring out something in N'Keal Harry. Like I said, he's only in his third year, or going into his third year. He's only played 2 seasons, and he didn't play a full 2 seasons. So he's been in and out of the lineup, so he's still fresh, you know what I'm saying? And he's still learning, he's still developing. So maybe he needs a change of scenery, and who knows, maybe Washington could be that for him. But I honestly wouldn't, you know, mind if we trade for him. But would I do it? Would it be my first move? Nah, I wouldn't, because I value our late round draft picks, because you guys know we draft well in the late rounds, and I don't want to give that up. Maybe you could look at it like this: we're going to be so good next year, probably Super Bowl contenders or deep playoff contenders, and I'm just throwing it out there, not saying it's going to happen, but say that's us next year, and all our draft picks are in the later parts of the rounds. Maybe then you feel comfortable giving up a 6th or a 5th or a 4th because they're in the later parts of the rounds, just because how dominant we was this past season. So if that's the case, then I'll be all for it. But then that means you will have to perform well, because you'll be giving up a draft pick before the season even starts. So you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? New England could be like, hey, if we get a third out of these people and they don't perform well, it could be an early third. But for us, if we can give up a third and be like, but hey, if we're performing well, if we're possible Super Bowl champions or Super Bowl contenders rather, or deep playoff run contenders, that draft pick ain't gonna matter, because it's gonna be in the late third rounds. You see what I'm saying here? So it's a 50-50 chance. It's a flip a coin kind of move. But at the end of the day, I don't think Ron Rivera is going to do it. I don't even think Ron Rivera is paying attention. My man is probably on a boat somewhere, relaxing, doing this thing, playing golf somewhere. So it's just a topic to get the conversation going down below. And it was just an article that I saw that I wanted to talk about. I'll put the link down below in the description. So yeah, man, it's me, boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe. Help to the Washington football team. Let me know what you guys think about this video down below. I personally wouldn't do it, but if it was done, I wouldn't be mad at it. Let me know what you guys think about this video. I'm out. Peace. Cross me one time, that's gonna get you pop, get you drop.